This episode of the CoinSpice Podcast is brought to you by Cash Shuffle, because what you do with your money is your business. To give this new product a try for fungibility and privacy, head on over to electroncash.org, download their latest wallet 4.0.0, and give it a spin. CashShuffle.com for more information, because what you do with your money is your business.
What is really going on, crypto savages? You are listening to the CoinSpice Podcast with host C. Edward Kelso, editor-in-chief at CoinSpice.io, your home for spicy crypto things on the net.
Thanks, Laura, for coming on the show.
No problem, Kels. I'm really happy to be here. And honored, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, that we step back and appreciate the people who day in, day out use cryptocurrency and get their perspective. I think we get lost a lot of the times in the development debates, maybe even the broader philosophical ones, and we forget about, arguably the most important person, which is the user, and that's you. So let's get right into it then. First off, I think it's safe to say that you're not the typical demographic that cryptocurrency, at least at first, people would say would I guess what's a polite way to put it, that usually it's a young white kid, in his mom's basement, anywhere between 18 to 22 years old, who's messing around with cryptocurrency, and you're obviously not a dude. So how the heck did you find cryptocurrency?
Well, a friend of mine actually is a developer for Bitcoin Cash. And he was telling me about it, and I was like, this sounds really interesting. And, we were speaking about libertarianism and, how I had discovered, libertarianism, and we talked about a lot of things that we had in common, political. And then he, turned me on to Ross Ulbright, and I started reading about that. And, I'm not, one to do Silk Road or any of those kind of things, but I was like, this guy got a really raw deal for developing a website which other people used for illegal purposes. And I started researching that. And then, I looked into cryptocurrency, and of course, like everybody in the beginning was like, oh man, I can make so much money. And this is right before the market. And I did. I made a fair amount of money. Then I lost a fair amount of money. But at that point, I was hooked. I said, this is really cool. And I just started reading people's tweets. I got to know people. And, at first I had gotten books. And, you can learn a lot from books. But until you actually start using it, you don't really know what cryptocurrency is.
Right. That's an excellent point, and that's why I think you're so valuable. I know we chatted one time in the CoinSpice Telegram room that we were talking a little bit about developers and how they were coming up with the latest gizmos and gadgets and tools and stuff. And you were asking some rather basic and very pointed questions. You're saying, well, what about this and that? And they were desperately trying to explain it to you and going way too far out there. And you're just like, look. Just tell me, what to push and what to click. And I found that it doesn't say anything about you. It says everything about them, because imagine if, you or I or me, let's just put me, if I had to understand exactly how my car works for me to be able to drive it, or, I could probably explain how email works, but, I really couldn't tell you much about, my DVD player, whatever it is. So I think that's super, super important. So the gateway drug was libertarianism? Is that what kind of first led you there?
And taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
Taxes are horrible.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to pay taxes. And as you become older, the more taxes you have to pay. It really becomes a bummer. And, so we started talking about taxes, and I was like, what is the tax ramifications of cryptocurrency? and I started looking into that. And it was, before they started taxing crypto at a high rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually was a very big lure for a lot of people, and that was quickly shuttled. So,
well, I think it's going to be a lure, a huge lure in the future too. I mean, yeah, we have to pay taxes on it, but it's gonna. I think that with the way things are going and the way that if the Democrats get into office, if our taxes increase the way they say they want to increase them, I think that's going to be a huge push to cryptocurrency for a lot of America.
Yeah, people will want to escape a lot of those costs, and it'll just become more, I guess, profitable for them to do that, and cryptocurrency is certainly a way. So you actually had a friend who was a Bitcoin Cash developer, and
Yes.
So you guys start talking about the libertarian stuff, and cryptocurrency comes up. Do you remember, like, did this person send you your first, or did they have you download a wallet, or what was the process?
No, nothing. Actually, he really didn't help me much at all. I mean, I stumbled through cryptocurrency in the beginning. I mean, I didn't have anybody to hold my hand. I didn't have anybody to teach me. It was more like, and I was like, how do I get this? Oh, well, you can get it off of Coinbase. And then, I was in Vegas and I was like, oh, is there an ATM here? Well, what's the fee, for buying, at the ATM? And I was like, show me. And we just didn't have any time. So it was up to me to discover and to learn everything. And I stumbled. I lost money. I mean, and I have no idea where, this one thing that I sent $500. I have no idea where that $500 is. Which is probably worth about 20,000, or not 20, but I mean, it's probably worth about $10,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are expensive lessons, and they're really valuable ones. But yeah.
I learned quickly after that, when you're trying to figure something out, you test it with $1.
Exactly. All right, so you're much beyond that. So slowly you get into it, like you say, you learn through trial and error, which I think a lot of us did, and then the light bulb goes on, and it makes a lot of sense to you. Now, you're not in. Again, I hate to harp on this, but I think it's so important for listeners, because a lot of times we do the coastal thing. People are either in New York, or they're in California and Silicon Valley, or I get a lot of guys in Paris or London. You're in friggin' North Carolina, right?
I am in the middle of nowhere. Well, I mean, I'm about 35 minutes west of Asheville. But it's literally...
And Asheville's like a college town, like a hipster town?
No, it's not a college town. It is a hipster town. It's up and coming. It's a very up and coming city. It is, it is an old city, but it is really becoming new. A lot of building is happening, a lot of growth, a lot of younger people are coming here. So it is definitely an up and coming city, and, it's being written about, and it's beautiful here. And I think, we have a slow life here. It's very slow paced, not like New York, not like California. It's just very laid back. Everyone is laid back. Everybody likes everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, even though those things are starting to change. But everybody likes everybody. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter your education. There's just a lot of respect.
And you're not even in Asheville, so you're actually adjacent to that, right?
Yeah, I'm outside of Asheville.
So what happens when you're talking your cryptocurrency talk in your town in North Carolina? What kind of reception does it get?
Duh. I mean, they watch the news. It's not like they don't watch the news.
Sure.
They see Bitcoin, here and there. I get a lot, I now have the reputation of the Bitcoin girl. Hey, aren't you that girl that does the Bitcoin?
Very nice.
pretty much I am one of the only, women here that does the cryptocurrency. And in that respect, I'm one of the only people. But they do know that if they want to know something about it, that they ask me. I get a lot of people coming into my workplace, asking me about it. And, I can't really talk about it at work because I am in the banking industry.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the banking industry, so it's not something that I like to talk about at work. But I do tell them how they can get a hold of me, after hours if they have any questions. And
very cool. And have you help people like set up wallets and so on?
Yeah, I help people set up wallets. I let them know about Coinbase. I will sell them some every once in a while, just to get them onboarded. Like I have one guy that said, hey, I've got like a box of, $20,000, under my bed. I think if I bought some Bitcoin, it would free up some space. I'm like, yeah, I think that would free up some space. All right.
Sure would.
So, I've turned him onto it. But, I don't like saying that it's an investment. I never pushed it as an investment because it's not a good investment. And I don't need that coming back on me. Somebody saying, hey, well, you told me I can make this amount of money and that amount of money. So I never suggest doing it as an investment.
Yeah, that's real important because there is a get rich fever that everybody has. And so when they see the number go up stuff, especially in the recent weeks, then they start coming with more questions, right?
Yeah. And, I have one guy who comes in and, he's always, when are you going to teach me how to invest? When are you going to teach me how to invest? And I'm like, I'm never going to teach you how to invest. I'm just not going to do that. I will teach you how to spend it. I will teach you how to buy it. I will teach you how to, buy things with it, but I'm not going to teach you how to invest in it. It's something I've told many people that, but then again, there's that flip side where you're like, you want to get them turned on to it and you want them to learn, in another respect, but I don't want to make that mistake of having it come back on me saying, you told me I could make all this money and now I've lost my life savings.
Yeah, and that's happened a whole lot. So I think the watchword always when you're out evangelizing or proselytizing, or however you want to put it, the good news of Bitcoin Cash or whatever cryptocurrency project you're into is let people know, hey, this is really new. This is very volatile. This is a new technology. You get into it very slowly. If you can't afford to lose that money, best you keep it out of there, right?
And that's what I tell people. If you can't afford to lose it, then don't do it.
And just being in the retail banking sector, do you mind if I ask how long you've been in banking?
Not very long, actually. Okay. Not very long. I was an accountant for a very long time. Oh
wow, okay. Mm-hmm. So does being an accountant and then now being in the banking industry, does that give you kind of a special insight into cryptocurrencies and why they might be valuable? Say, a woman that has your same sort of demographic, and so on, maybe might not have caught on to cryptocurrency as fast. Does that play a role?
No. Let's see. I don't think that really had any bearing on it. I think it was just me looking for something to do with my money. I had money and I didn't want to do the stock markets. I'm really good at spending money. I'm always looking for a way to spend it. But the global aspect of it for me, more than anything, because I love to travel around the world.
I was going to say, yeah.
And knowing that I can go from one country to another country and not having to exchange that money, that's a huge deal. You might not think that it's as big a deal as it is, but it can become a huge hassle. I mean, when I get off the airplane, the first thing I do is I go to an ATM, and I have to convert my money, and just withdraw what they have so I don't have to go and pay all those fees to convert it. So crypto, but you have to find that ATM. And sometimes
Right.
ATMs don't have English on them. So you're just mashing buttons. And, when I was in Tibet, my dad and I were trying to get, some Tibetan money, and we couldn't get it out of the ATM. We literally could not get money out of the ATM. We had called the credit card companies. We had called our bank, and he used, his ATM card. I used mine, and we could not get any money out of that ATM for anything. And then there was a huge mix-up at the airport about us getting a plane ticket, about getting our tickets out. Well, in the country of Tibet, you have to, when your flight is ready to leave, you have to leave that country. There's no. Right. Well, there was a mix-up with our flight, and there was only one ticket available versus 3, and they had canceled the flight but not rescheduled us. So our visa was up, and we had to get out of that country or we were in big trouble. Well, so we just said, screw it, we're just going to pay whatever it costs, to get a ticket to fly out of the country. Well, we tried to use my dad's credit card. He used his American Express. He used his Visa. I tried my MasterCard. I tried my Discover. And they kept saying, no, it has to be an international credit card.
Wow.
And we were like, our international credit cards. Well, no, they wanted a Chinese credit card, and I just looked at my dad and I go, Dad, think of how easy this would have been if we could have used cryptocurrency, and at that point, my dad came around, and my dad's 78 years old, and he's like, you're right. This cryptocurrency thing is going to be big. And I was like, it is big, Dad, so it's really important.
And I think that's going to be a major use case. We saw it with our own Hayden Otto. He's done some interview work in his part of the world in Australia, and in resort towns there, they have found that to be the case as well. That people do sort of one-stop shopping in terms of currency swaps, buy a bunch of Bitcoin Cash, and because the merchants there all take it, that solves all those headaches. Yeah.
It solves a lot of headaches. We wouldn't have been able to get out of that country if it wouldn't have been for our tour guide. He actually gave us, the money off of his credit card. And then when I got home, I sent him some Bitcoin Cash,
Wow. Okay,
and
there it is.
He loved it, and he went out and he goes, what can I do? What can I do with this? And well, first he had to actually be able to get the app because, in Tibet, he wasn't able to get it. So he had to borrow somebody's Apple login and, get the Bitcoin.com wallet. But he's like, what can I buy with it? What can I buy with it? So he actually bought a gift card, and he was able to get something from China.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
And you've gone really deep with this. And I noticed when maybe not a year ago, but maybe 6-7 months ago, which is an eternity in cryptocurrency, I remember you being kind of not reticent, but at least shyer than you are now on Twitter. And you would tweet here and there, you'd retweet some things. Now you're full on. You. I saw a recent tweet with you, and it had to do with I think it was Travala. You use them to book a flight.
Oh yeah.
Or to attend. That's a really interesting story that I think kind of ends well, but can you kind of take us through that a little bit? Yeah,
well, I went to Atlanta, and because I wanted to use the Spending app, right? And I was going to do a whole weekend in Atlanta just using, cryptocurrency. So I paid for my hotel with Bitcoin Cash with Travala, but when I booked the hotel, I thought I was booking it at the Ritz-Carlton. Comes to find out that the Ritz-Carlton had actually moved locations down to downtown Atlanta. And I was staying at a hotel called the Whitley. Well, I contacted, which is a lot cheaper than the Ritz-Carlton. So I contacted Travala. I tried to explain to them what was happening. And they just kept, emailing me back saying, well, no, it is the Ritz. And I said, no, it's not the Ritz. This is what happened. They moved locations, and now this hotel called the Whitley took it over, and this went on for like 10 emails. And I kept explain to them. I'd send them screenshots, and then they were like, well, you upgraded your room. That's why it's more expensive. And I go, no, this is, I send them a screenshot. This is how much the same exact room at the Whitley costs versus at the Ritz-Carlton, and it's $100 cheaper. So I wasn't going to like tweet it before I stayed at the hotel because I didn't, I was like, I don't know who these people are.
Right.
And Super Nerd, he even called them on the telephone and said, he was my husband, and they actually hung up on him.
Oh, hold on. So for people who don't know, I'm dying. I'm literally dying. Some people who don't know, explain who Super Nerd is.
Super Nerd is a guy in CoinSpice, and he's actually one of my closest friends in crypto. And he is just a really great guy, but sarcastic, but funny.
He has a huge heart. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever talk to.
Absolutely, and he might, be a little crass sometimes.
Little rough around the edges.
Just a little rough around the edges. He has three daughters, and so he has got a huge heart, and he has just welcomed me into this environment with open arms. And he's kind of like my protector, and
okay, so anyway, so you're in Hotlanta, you're in chocolate.
Oh no, I was still in North Carolina, but
sorry, you're still in North Carolina. So you're going through this whole ordeal, and somehow you rope Super Nerd in and then take it from there.
Yeah, so he calls them because they were in London. So they said they were in London. And Joey actually got the phone number for me. And so he calls them, but they're not in London. They're actually Indian. And so he's trying to explain what the situation is. And they hung the phone up on him. Ooh. Right? And they said, we'll contact her in email. So they hung up on him. So about a half hour later, I get an email, and, I explain to them again what is happening, and they're not listening. It's like they were in their own little bubble, and I'm like, here's the email site, here's this, and they just kept looking on their own site. So anyways, I get down to Atlanta, and I'm like, and it wasn't a bad hotel, okay? I mean, it was a nice hotel. It used to be the Ritz-Carlton.
But it ain't the Ritz-Carlton.
It ain't the Ritz, I'll tell you. Because I thought I was on spring break back when I was in my 20s, okay?
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. It's like the room smelled like, the elevator smelled like weed, which, back in my day, that was a lovely smell. It still sometimes till this day it is. But I have to be drug tested at work, so there's that.
Right.
A guy has an open bottle of Hennessy in his hand,
Welcome to Atlanta, baby.
Exactly. And I'm in my 50s, and I'm like, that was great, 30 years ago, but not today, and I just wanted a nice, relaxing weekend. So then I'm actually with Columbus from CoinSpice. And him and I are, getting ready to go have dinner. And we walk in, and I look at the menu. And I'm like, well, it doesn't look that bad. There's not that much stuff on it, but it doesn't look that bad. But I walk in, and it's like something out of like The Sopranos, like back in the 70s kind of feel, wood on the walls and stuff. And I just look, and then like the bar is just like stuffed in the corner. It just was not even appealing to go and sit in there. So I said, let's just go. So we got up and we walked out. But then we wound up having a really nice dinner, and Colin joined us, and myself and Colin and Columbus. And so we finished up the evening, and then the next day I get up. Oh, and another thing, the Spending app, that sucked.
It sucked.
It did.
Oh.
First I went, shopping before I met the guys for dinner. And so I tried to send Bitcoin Cash to it, and it would not generate an address. So I wasn't able to send any Bitcoin Cash to it. Well, Bitcoin was, what was it, like almost $14,000 that day. So I was like, well, some Bitcoin to it. $4.50.
Right.
By the way. So I sent $250. So then I go into Nordstrom's and the code wouldn't generate. So I couldn't spend it at Nordstrom's, which I specifically went down to Atlanta to use the spending app to shop. And plus, you can only spend $100. Well, what can you buy at Nordstrom's for $100? Nothing. So, but the QR code wouldn't even generate, so I couldn't use it there. And so then the next day, I went and still no BCH address would generate. And, but by that time, I could get a QR code for my Bitcoin, but I was at a different location without any place that accepted it. So I never actually got it. So I come home and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to now tweet about Chamalla.
and before because you've done a great job of building this all up. And, I couldn't imagine what Chamalla has to deal with. Now, cryptocurrency, this is my tribe. I love them all. I love all my babies equally. But there are some definite bad actors, right? So I couldn't even imagine what they have to deal with on a daily basis in terms of people claiming X and Y. But anyway, you're
and people trying to scam them, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but here I am, a legitimate person who just gave them, $290, I think, because I thought I was going to be at the Ritz, for one night, but I was at the Whitley, which was, not the Ritz.
Nope.
And I come home and I'm like, well, now I'm going to tweet it. So I tweet it, and as soon as the tweet went out, some girl responded to it. And it was funny because she was using the same exact terms that Chamalla was using. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, I'm sure they're going to make it right. And I'm sure they're going to do this. And I'm sure that. So, and it's like 12 o'clock at night, and, I had to get up early. So I'm, reading these tweets and I'm like, yeah. Well, I just wanted my $100 difference, in hotel rooms back. I didn't want the whole entire thing back.
Sure.
So, and at first I was like, I'll just take the $100. They don't need to, do anything special, but just apologize. So obviously this girl must have worked for Chamalla, or she knew somebody that worked for Chamalla. But I also knew that if I tweeted this, I was going to get a response from Chamalla. And I had even said to Super Nerd, I had said, I'm going to tweet this because people need to know that they're not living up to their end of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I tweet it, and that girl responds. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people, and this girl did not have very many followers. So, but a lot of people started giving her, likes and all this other stuff. And I started thinking, am I really that evil? But I wasn't.
You're being ratioed. You're being ratioed right there on Twitter.
I was, man. It was horrible. And I'm like, shit. And so then I receive an email from them saying that they're going to refund me the difference. And I'm like, well, that would have been nice a week ago. Thank you very much, is what I'm thinking. And, if you would have listened to me the first time. And then, and I was like, why didn't they just do their own research and figure out that I wasn't lying? And if I was lying, would I have kept this up for so long? I don't really know how liar people do this stuff.
Right.
I think that they would have given up, after the first 3 or 4 times. And so then at first they were like, well, we're just going to, give you back the $100. But then it built up, and then Bitcoin info, and he has 108,000 followers or something.
Yep.
He retweeted it. And so all of a sudden after he retweeted it, they said, we're going to give you back all your money. And I was like, Twitter is good for something.
It is.
Twitter is definitely good.
Again, they became a good actor at the end, and obviously
they got publicity. They
Sure.
definitely got, some good publicity out of it.
Well, I kind of felt guilty because I think a day or two before we published a glowing, hooray, Chamalla takes Bitcoin.
Yeah. But, and I've used cheap air before, but, it's like when when somebody new comes on board, to Bitcoin Cash, I want to use them, and I want to see what the experience is like and see if I can recommend it to other people. So, I mean, Chamalla was very easy to use.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it was very simple, very easy. I had no problem with that. You know, the only problem came into, was, the mix up in the hotels, in which I tried, in a simple email to get them to clear that up, and they wouldn't. So.
Well, all is well rather that ends well. So that's good that they did in the end not just, flip you back the 100, but refunded the entire balance. So that's good.
Yeah, it helped pay for my shopping.
Which you probably spent.
Of course, I had already spent it.
Boom. Well, but
then I gave some of it to Linzard and Oscar and Jose and EPCH.
And these are our, for people who don't know, these are our Venezuelan guys who do a lot of work in terms of either reporting or graphics and video work, and also charitable work. So that's very, very cool.
Yeah, good guys.
And I think that's the point, that Bitcoin Cash is more than just a protocol or a set of software and this, kind of medicinal, unfeeling thing that really is. There's a community behind it, and like you say, you want to support the businesses out there that and the services out there that are working towards advancing cryptocurrency adoption. But it has to be reciprocal, and you're not just going to give them a free ride. No. You want to make sure that, because that's also a problem, because people who think, Spedden got, I don't know how many, millions and tens of millions of pixels published on their behalf, and it turns out you can't use the damn thing, and it's $100 and on and on. So that's real.
And you can't take money out of that wallet either. I still have $250 of Bitcoin sitting in there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I emailed them, and they haven't emailed me back, saying, how do I get my money out of there? Because Colin instead said, if you just, email them, they'll do that for you. Well, I've emailed them twice, and I haven't heard anything back from them.
Wow. Yeah. See, you're the canary in the mine shaft. You're doing all the hard work that it takes for, it's got to be a complete circle. It's developers, it's marketers, it's business people, websites, all that good stuff. But that end user, the person who's actually interacting with it, who, they all claim to be working for, if she's not, happy, ain't nobody happy. I mean, that's right. The entire thing.
Yeah. But, I really love Bitcoin Cash. It has really become a livelihood for me. I mean, not that, I have to have it, but I seek it out. I seek out ways to use it because I feel that strongly in it. I will go out of my way just to use it. I would go out of my way to teach somebody else how to use it and, how to and explain it to them. And I think that's one of the things that I do bring to the table is that I explain it, as Gabriel says, explain it like I'm 5. Mm-hmm. Well, I do explain it like you're 5. I don't use words like nodes and pies and, all this, stuff and mining rigs and, unless it gets down to the nitty gritty. I just say, look at how easy this is. All you have to do is scan this QR code. Yeah, and it's funny because Alex says, the QR code is the lazy man's way of crypto. Alex Apricot from, Handcash. And I'm like, no, it is the easy man's crypto. It's what makes it easy for people my age. It's so easy for people my age. All we have to do is scan that and it works. And that's what crypto is about, as long as it works and it's cheap and fast.
Boom. What a great way to end it. So I know people are going to want to, follow you and all that good stuff and connect with you and ask you questions. So where can they find you?
Well, on Twitter, it's at hi-from-Laura1, and Telegram, it's also, I think it's hi_from-Laura. Same with Reddit. So, and of course I'm in CoinSpice all the time.
Well, thanks again. You were so generous. I know you had a busy day today working, had appointments, and you came back just to talk to us. So we really appreciate it. And thanks
My
again,
pleasure.
Laura, for coming on.
Thanks, Kels.